Secre is one of those characters that I personally find to be criminally underrated. I find that not a lot of people tend to talk about her enough. She's never really included in the conversation for the best female character in Black Clover. She's never really included in the conversation for best waifu. She's never really included in any of these discussions, and I know Black Clover tends to have a lot of well-written female characters, but I think that Secre is definitely in the contending for that. Now, I'm not really sure why people don't tend to talk about her enough, especially since it's almost universally agreed upon that Black Clover has some of the most well-written female characters in all of shonen. Almost 100% of the time when people talk about female characters in Black Clover, they're almost always talking about Noelle or Mimosa. Now, I'm not trying to say that Mimosa and Noelle don't deserve to be talked about as much as they are. All I'm trying to say is that Secre definitely deserves to be talked about a lot more than she is. When we were first introduced to Secre, she took the form of a bird, and no one knew that she was actually trapped in a bird's body. Pretty much everybody always assumed that she was just actually a bird. So later on in the story, when it was revealed that she was actually in fact not a bird, I can genuinely say that's where my appreciation for Secre began, because imagine having to be in the form of a bird for over 5 centuries. I think that's a really tough thing to do, and she definitely did it. And not only did she do it, whenever she returned to the form of a human, she never even complained about having to be in the form of a bird, ever. Not once did she ever complain about being trapped in the body of a bird. That level of selflessness is definitely admirable in a character like Secre. Honestly, if I'm telling the truth, I don't think she has any negative characteristic traits about her personality in general, at all. Now, I have to say, this is the part where it gets a little subjective to my opinion, but I have to say, personally, I really enjoy her character design. Some people might be turned away from the fact that she hardly ever smiles, but you gotta realize she was trapped in the body of a bird for over 500 years, and she lost the person that she loved the most. I think that Asta is going to be a really good influence on her, and somewhere in the future she's going to learn to smile a lot more, and I think that's going to be a good part of her character development. Segueing back into her character design, she has 2 horns on her head, and that's symbolic of the fact that she used forbidden magic, but she didn't use forbidden magic for any selfish purpose. Like I stated earlier, she's a selfless character. She was willing to go and do forbidden magic if it meant that she can help protect Lumiere. It was Lumiere that taught her that she had value, because as we know in Black Clover, magic is everything, and she had sealing magic, and she didn't think that sealing magic was very useful, but Lumiere told her that she had to start thinking outside the box, and he told her that she was special. Lumiere was the first person who told her that her magic was very useful, and I think that's one of the first stages of her character development. Now, I think it's really integral that Asta be a part of her life, because Asta, in my opinion, really reminds me of the first Wizard King, and I think that the first half of her character development came from Lumiere, and I think the second half is going to come from Asta, because unfortunately for her, Lumiere is not here, and that's probably a big reason why she never smiles as often as she used to. It seemed like Lumiere was one of the people who could actually make her smile, but nowadays she doesn't seem to smile too often, and that's totally acceptable because she went through a lot. She literally lost the person she loved the most, but segueing into the future, once she made it into the future, she did everything in her power. Even while she was a bird, she did everything she could to make sure Zagreus did not take over the entire Clover Kingdom. I think that really speaks volumes about her character, that she was willing to look over a grimoire for over 500 years. That's really impressive. I think maybe one of the main reasons she's not included in more people's discussions about the best female character in Black Clover is due to the fact that she's not as powerful as someone like Mereoleona or Noelle, but I do think she's very useful in her own way. For example, if it wasn't for Secre, Zagreus literally would not have been able to be sealed over 500 years ago. It was due to her sealing magic that she was able to seal him from taking over the entire Clover Kingdom. Now, I see a lot of people try to downplay this feat, saying that she only was able to do it because of the magic stones. I think that's a very flawed way of looking at it, because I believe Tabata purposely wrote it like that due to the fact that overuse of the magic stones will result in her growing horns. I think the use of the magic stones in this scenario was symbolic to the fact that she was willing to go and use unknown magic, even if she had a slight chance of possibly being able to save her friend. I think that sealing magic in itself needs to get a lot more credit, because so far we've seen Secre be able to seal a lot of things, including Zagreus, and she almost was able to seal Vonica. So I really believe that sealing magic is very powerful, and I believe that she's one of the most powerful mages to ever possess this form of magic. Now, in present day, I think she really is a nice fit for the Black Bulls, and I think that she really gets along well with everyone, and she just always is willing to do the right thing no matter what. She's not afraid to go on the battlefield, even though a lot of the time she's facing off against a lot stronger opponents than herself. So the fact that she's able to go on the battlefield and not be afraid is very telling of her character. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about Secre. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. It's been your boy Nero, and I'm out.